Bill, thank you very much for coming out. I really appreciate it. I've always enjoyed every conversation we've had, so thanks for coming to my house. You're my first guest as a new brokerage that just happened, so this is more memorable to me even than it already was.
To me too.
I like it. First thing I got to do is, as we're walking in, I was a little bit late. That's my fault. I asked you if you wanted a beverage. You're okay on any of this? You don't want to tap into the bar today? I do have, I know that you enjoy from time to time some nicotine, but I also have some cannabis sticks, adult cannabis sticks. If you wish to partake in these, I'm more than happy. Do you play with those at all?
I did, and I stopped.
Yeah, I didn't stop, so we won't be. So I'll just set that right here. They're available. The ashtray's here.
I'll drink the water.
So yeah, I just did a little story there, but yeah, and water. I've got lots of water and ice here. I just asked you before we went on, but you've been in real estate now.
1974. I started just before John Fletcher that just retired.
1974. So you definitely have to be one of our most experienced realtors in our board.
Yeah, I would say.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Best word maybe got me.
Yeah. 1974. And you're, just to even go back even before that, born and raised Port Colborne, right? You're
Absolutely.
a Port Colborne guy through and through. You've been in the business a long time. You've done really well, and you've been around. You're not just a new guy to the neighborhood.
No, it's true. Yeah, I had my 15 minutes of fame with Century 21 back then. I started with Sam Burkout on a private, Jerry's brother.
Right.
And then...
Is that where you started, Century 21?
I started with him. And
in Port Colborne?
Yeah, but he was just a single office brokerage then. And then after about 2 or 3 years, he decided to join Century 21.
Oh, so it wasn't Century 21 then?
Not at the beginning.
What was it called?
Just SP Burkout Realty.
Gotcha. So that's how you started there.
Yeah.
Ah.
And then we joined Century 21, and then 1980, the interest rates hit 21.5%.
Right.
He went bust, and so did Sam Buffa, B-U-F-F-A. They were the only two offices in town.
Right.
So that's when 4 of us took over the franchise.
Really?
And then...
What for?
Alec Danch, Peter Yersaki, Ron Terrian, who passed away a few years ago, and myself.
Wow.
And then we did...
Were you all working for that company then?
Yeah, we were all there then. Fletcher was the only one that was there that didn't want to participate.
Gotcha.
So we couldn't afford new signs, so we sanded off the Burkout and put Pride Realty.
Really? Use the exact same signs.
Same signs, yeah. Until we got going. And then I think I left them in...
That's amazing.
How many years? I got kind of discouraged because my sales were going up, and those guys were kind of staying level, and we'd split 4 ways at the end of the year. And
oh,
said,
yeah?
Hey, guys, we were in a 50-50 split.
Right.
And I said, when I get to $50,000, I want another 10. Oh, no, can't do that. Okay, then buy me out, I'm gone. So then I opened Countrywide, about a Countrywide franchise.
Oh.
Then Prudential came into Canada and took over the Countrywide offices.
What year was Countrywide did you start that?
Oh, God. So from 74, 84, around 1990, I guess.
90? Okay.
Yeah. And then I ran that for 12 or 14 years until my wife quit doing the books.
Right.
She said, I quit. I said, you can't quit. It's going to cost me $40,000 a year to do the books. I don't care. I'm retiring. So that's when I phoned Margie at Royal LePage and said, you want an office in Port Colborne? It's the only place you don't have one.
Right.
And she says, absolutely. So we got together and they took over.
Nice. Did you stay in an ownership role or went to Realtor?
Yeah, just went to Realtor, just Sherry and I.
Yeah.
So...
How long have you... Sherry is your...
She's my
partner?
assistant, but she's becoming more and more of a partner.
Yeah.
So I'm putting her on all the signs and the pens and the advertising. And
yeah.
she's been with me 32 years in
32
this
years.
Past July.
And she's a fleeter.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's awesome.
Yeah.
So one thing that I know we talked about before that always blows my mind is, well, even before I get there, I'll talk about now first. So right now, and please correct me if I'm wrong, balanced market we're looking at, mixed between sellers and buyers.
Yeah. Yeah, between sellers and buyers.
Some properties are still going into competition.
Yeah.
Some are taking a month, 2 months to sell. Some not selling.
Yeah.
So a little bit, you got a mixed bag.
Yeah.
You've talked to, so for myself, since the last few years, keeping inventory has been minimal because things have selling.
Yeah. Especially Wainfleet, Port Colborne.
Right. So you've seen cycles, but you've told me before that when you were with Century 21, you were carrying a lot of listings. This is amazing.
The 1 year I was the top lister in Canada for Century 21. I listed 221 places, and that was one for every working day of the year.
That's
on the average, I used to carry 125 back then.
okay. So you would carry 125 listings. I have a really hard time, even in today's day, with technology, being able to manage that. I have a hard time handling when I start getting 10 listings, keeping track of everything.
Yeah.
How do you manage?
Well, I didn't do a phenomenal job. I did the best job I could do.
Well,
so what are you going to do? Sherry wasn't around in those days.
You were on your own doing that?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so one of the things that I have to assume was easier was the paperwork. Like, there's no way it was as much paperwork as it is today.
No, hell, the listings were like half a page.
Right.
And there was no FinTrack. There was no, not anywhere near the paperwork.
Right. Where a listing now carries, I don't even know how many pages we're looking at. 15.
With the FinTrack, about 14.
Yeah, 14 pages.
Yeah.
Whereas it used to be like half page. So half page is much more manageable. But regardless if it was one line, carrying 125, that's 125 people, families, properties. Because now, I don't know about you. I educate myself on all my listings, all my deals, everything. But I don't know everything. Somebody calls me up, and I guess one of the most common questions, I think, is taxes. People call me, how much are the taxes on a property? I don't have it memorized for all my listings.
No.
I can't imagine having 120. I could imagine if I had 125 listings, somebody calling me and asking me about a property and me forgetting I had that listed. What do you mean a house over on Main Street? or say, I've got 8 on Main Street. Which one are you talking about?
Yeah, it's hard to, you can't. They did have catalogs back then.
Right.
Every 2 weeks you'd get a catalog, and then I'd have my son drop them off to the clients, that instead of having them on the system like we do now, where we, you put them on the email and they automatically get the listings according to what they're looking for. I used to have my son drop off the books.
Right.
And for comparables, we used to have what they call TELA reports, T-E-E-L-A, and it was a book of listing was about this big, and there was like 3 or 4 to a page with perforated, and you could rip them off. I still got a whole box of them at the office for the old 1971.
So this was for sales?
It was for firm sales.
Yeah, firm sales, so you could do your homework. In
sections from 71 and up. So
was it harder or easier to price a home back then?
I guess about the same.
Yeah?
It wasn't, we had no computers.
Right.
So it just, you went by these little sales reports, and we had them all in years, 71, 72, 80, 85, 90.
Right.
So you just grab a batch of those and rifle through them and
start looking through
what were the best comparables.
Right. So maybe the first thing I'll kind of talk about, is the cycles of the market that you've seen.
Yeah, around here, unlike Toronto, which just goes zips up and zips down, we're more like a wave, you know.
Right.
If you ever did the last 30, 40 years, you'd find it up a bit, down a bit, up a bit, down a bit. Except for 1980, it took a hell of a dive with the interest rates.
When you started? Or what was 80?
1980 is when the interest rates hit 21.5%.
You started 74.
I started in 74. 79 was that was my big year. When I started in 74, everybody said, "Are you crazy? The market is flat." It was. 71 and 72, from what they told me, the prices doubled. And then,
71 to 72?
Yeah.
Okay.
And then in 74, it flattened out. And
Right.
They say, "Are you crazy? You're quitting a full-time job to go on commission? You're going to starve."
Right.
So, you know, I had my head buried in that bloody book for a good year. You know, the guys would stop by and say, "You want to go for coffee?" No. And then about a year went by, and I sat up and they said, "Yeah, I think I got a handle on it now."
Right.
I took a second mortgage on my house for $7,000 so I could survive until I got the license.
Right.
Which now would probably be 70.
Right.
And it was 2 months before we got our license, whether we got the license or not. And the Boy Scout, one of my kids was in the Boy Scouts, and they called me and asked me if I'd go out to the beach with the Boy Scouts. So I went out there, and I'm sitting there watching these boats go by. A week later, my money was gone. I bought a boat.
Really?
So when I walked in that office, I got to sell something like right away.
That's hilarious.
It was 15 years as an insurance investigator with the company that's now called Equifax.
You were? Oh, I didn't know that.
That's what I did before real estate.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah. It wasn't just credit reports then. It was all the sneaky stuff. The whiplash guys, guys swinging the let off work from the Carbide or the GM or whatever. We used to do a lot of snoopy stuff.
Right.
If you took out a big wad of life insurance, they'd send me out to check up on you to see if you were a good guy and whether you got along with your wife and whether you were a heavy drinker.
Really?
So it was really good because it was dig all the time.
So you learned a lot doing that.
Yeah, so when I get into real estate, I kept digging.
Yeah, exactly.
So
in 80, the market took a big swing down.
Big swing, yeah.
So when you say big swing, like...
Well, back then the prices were a lot different, of course, but I'd go to a house and say, okay, it's worth about $100,000. And the guy said, well, what do you mean? I paid $125 for it 5 years ago. Yeah, that's about right.
Really?
Yeah.
So that was caused by the interest rates shooting up?
Interest rates going up. I was going to personally drive to Ottawa and kick Pierre Trudeau right in the ass.
Right.
It was bad.
So values go down, and then days on market must have went up.
Oh, they did.
What's the longest, was that the longest time around 80 that it took to sell a house, or have you seen?
90 was another one.
There was another?
1990 was another recession. It wasn't caused so much by interest rates, it was just a recession. It's like right now the newspapers are starting to talk that word again. You know, they love that word.
Right.
With this guy that's running Britain and with Trump.
Right.
So, like our country is doing super.
Right.
But if the U.S. or Britain start going down, then we go with them, right?
Right.
But so hopefully that won't happen. We're in good shape right now.
So was 80 or 90 tougher?
Yeah, they were both pretty bad.
About the same?
I would say 80. You know, we had to use what we called creative financing. You'd sit down with a couple and you'd say, okay, you were going to spend $150. So if you spend $125, your payment would be about the same. So just lower your sights a little bit, you know. Right. Yeah, and then I became a big-time investor with a couple of my buddies. We decided to buy an apartment building and downtown Port Colborne. And we bought this apartment building, and we took a 9 3/4% mortgage over 3 years instead of a 10 1/4 for 5 years. In 3 years, when it came due, we caught it at 16.5 on its way to 21.5.
Wow.
So instead of we both mortgaged our houses for an extra $50,000 each. That was our down payment.
Right.
And then we still had about $300-400 to the good every month. And we caught it at the interest rate climb when we had to renew. We were down about $5,000 a month.
What? Yeah. Really?
So we ended up, through our accountant, we ended up peddling it. Back then they had the people that were making too much money would find something that was losing money.
Right.
So they wouldn't have to pay so much tax. So we sold it to a funeral director.
Really?
We lost about $5,000.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
My wife said, I thought you knew what the hell you were doing. And I said, well, who the hell knew the interest rates were going to go from 10 to 21.5?
That's crazy.
You can't predict that.
No. That's so crazy. So in between 80 and 90, was it flat up until then? Was it growing?
No, I think 81, 82, we were flying back high again. No big jump.
Right. Just recovery.
Small increase every year until 1990 when the recession hit again. That's when the States went down.
Right.
And then, since then we've been all right.
And then we seen the crazy jump a couple years ago.
Yeah.
That was something that hasn't been seen before, a jump like that, right?
No.
Unless maybe you say 71, 72, but that was before
my time too. So.
Yeah. Because I got to tell you, that whirlwind of a market that we had, I don't know how long that was, a year and a half or 2 years or whatever.
Yeah, probably 2 years.
It was wild.
It was.
Like, I've been in the business now 6 years, just about a month ago. So just to go over it, mine is easier to remember because it's been 6 years. But when I started, it was flat. Like I remember one of my first listings in Port Colborne, somebody had lived in a house, I don't remember, 5 years, 7 years. And I think we were only listing it for like maybe 5% more than they had bought it. Right. And that's over like, sure. So it was a small appreciation. Like they were selling, and after fees and everything, it was around break even. Yeah. Right. And that's how it was when I first started. I don't know. It must have been almost 2 years where it was pretty flat, little growth. And then, I'd get a listing in Fawn Hill where, maybe it was $30,000, $40,000 more than what they bought. Right. So they were making some money, nothing big. But then all of a sudden, the market was on fire and people could literally almost buy something today and sell it tomorrow at a profit.
Yeah. See, that's a good time to start, actually, because if you're going to make it in the business, you'll do it. Because, if we ever had a recession, I'm afraid we'd lose a lot of realtors. A lot of these young people we'd probably lose.
Right.
So you got to be a grinder for sure.
Yeah, I give you so much credit, Bill, being in this business that long.
Well, my work ethic is old school.
Yeah.
I go in, I actually meet Sherry at 9:30 in the morning in one restaurant or another. We kind of move around because people know us, and we end up picking up clients. Yeah. And then we go to the office, and I go home at 5:30 for supper, and I either go back out again or on the computer. So it's a regular routine.
It's what it takes.
Yeah.
Yeah, see, I appreciate that a lot because I'm working all the time too. So I know that in order to go as long as you have, you don't do that by playing golf every day and hanging out at the beach.
Even the other day when we did the squad, you guys sit down for lunch. I don't do that.
Yeah.
If I do, I start getting nervous. I got to get out of here.
I know.
Back to the office.
I know. I feel you. I know. There's only so many hours in a day. Yeah.
And especially at my age, it's keeps my brain awake.
Yeah, for sure.
So, because it's easy to lose your mental focus.
Yeah.
By the time you get to my age.
See, I think why some of the reasons too that we can both work at so much is it's enjoyable, right? Like it is a wild industry. We have challenges all the time, but it is enjoyable. Like I think we both share a passion for people. There's no way that we'd be doing this if we didn't like people, good and bad, the way we take them.
Yeah. And I like money. I like doing things. I like buying what I want to buy. I like going on trips. I only go for a week at a time because I can't do more than a week, but you work 3 months, you take 3-4 days off and
Yeah.
go across the border and stay at the casino, play slot machines or whatever.
Yeah, enjoy some time. Yeah. Yeah.
So, I like to buy a nice car. And,
Yeah, you got nice wheels out there.
so it just depends what you want out of life.
Yeah.
I said the other day, somebody asked me, how you doing anyway? Are you still working? I said, yeah, I'm still working. I'm doing okay. I can't see too good. I can't hear. My legs don't work great. But other than that, I'm 100%.
That's awesome.
And Sherry, she's become, more and more so. Sometimes I wonder who's assistant because
Right.
when she has a day off, she'll text me, did you do this? Did you do that? Yeah, I did all that, Sherry. Like, shut your bloody phone off. Relax.
Enjoy the day.
Yeah. But, she's invaluable to me for sure.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's awesome that you guys have a team like that.
Yeah.
That's good. Yeah. So something we'll touch on a little now is technology changes over the years.
Yeah, a little bit.
So, and my first guest was actually Don Takich. I'm sure you know Don. Don's been around some time too, and he told me, I'm sure you can comment too, that listings weren't always on the internet.
No, there was no internet.
There was no internet back when you started. So, and I can't remember exactly when Don started or not, but when you got a listing when you first started, how did you even advertise that listing? How did everything work? Like,
it's all newspaper, open houses.
And how did you know about the other listings? There was a book or something, right?
They got a book every 2 weeks, and then we got a big thick book like this once a month, and the 2 weeks in between would be the thin one with the latest.
Right.
But then at the end of the month, you'd get this big fat one that had all the listings in it.
Right.
The small ones were for an update, and we'd get 100 of them and pass them out to our clients.
Right.
So you paid for those, but they got less and less popular, and then the internet came in. When I was operating that countrywide franchise, we used to have our meetings in Toronto because that's where head office was, and they said if you don't have a computer in your office, you may as well lock the door right now because in 5 years you'll be out of business. Scared the hell out of me. We went back and we learned real fast.
Right.
Yeah. Before
wow.
That, I never even thought about it.
Wow.
So
back around when you started to now, one of the things technology-wise that reigns with me that would be a big difference is when you've got your phone there, I've got mine in my pocket. Response time, like now, is like we got to get back to people as quickly as possible.
Well, we got beepers. We had beepers.
Right.
And if it was daytime and that thing beeped, you knew it was the office. If it was nighttime, you knew it was home.
Right.
So you'd go find a phone booth and you'd phone, find out what they wanted.
Right.
I remember back in my Century 21 days, I was thinking of buying a 40-foot trailer and having a phone in that and go to a shopping mall and put the boards up with all the houses on it with the flashing light on top and sit at a different mall all the time.
That's amazing. You did that?
No,
or you thought of doing
to. I even got the financing approved at the bank, and then when I called I think it was Bell back then, they said, well, every call that you make has to be long distance person to person from that motorhome.
So that would have been expensive.
Yeah. So I packed that idea in.
I love that idea, though.
Yeah.
Mobile cool office, yeah.
When you pick people up in the 40-foot motorhome, you give them a rum and coke and drive to the drive around and look at houses.
Enjoy the back. Yeah. I love it. Yeah. I love it.
Yeah.
So cell phones now versus the beeper, people's expectations back then when they called you to respond, they didn't expect to hear from you in the next 5 minutes because there was a process to it all.
No, they didn't. I remember sitting out in the dark in the middle of winter once in front of a house I was supposed to show, and the beeper went off, and I was in Wingfleet, actually, on Golf Course Road.
Oh, nice.
where the hell's the closest phone booth? So I finally found one, and they said the people canceled.
Oh,
I've been sitting there for 3/4 of an hour. It took me half an hour to find a phone booth, and now I'm just going home.
right.
So it's changed a lot. And when we did photocopies, the old hand crank Gestetner, covered in black ink.
Really? I don't even know if I've ever seen one of those. Yes.
Photocopiers, no scanners.
Yeah, so with a cell phone, it's a lot easier because somebody on your way to the appointment can call you to let you know. Yeah.
I guess.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a lot easier. It's a pain in the butt at times, like the other night I was sitting there watching a movie with my wife, and this happens frequently. I got 5 or 6 conversations on the go because people are texting you. And so you don't get any privacy anymore, but, the car used to be the only place where you could think.
Right.
Where there was no interruptions, but
right.
And if you're like most of us, a couple of people said, "Oh, I just turned mine off," and I said, "I can't do that. I can't bring myself around to do it."
I don't shut mine off either.
No.
It does. I don't shut it off. It's what I go to sleep hearing and wake up hearing. Yeah.
Yeah, it's changed drastically. There's no question about that.
So maybe some things that would be interesting is changes that you've liked and maybe that you don't think are so good with time going by with anything, whether it be, I don't even know.
Well, I relied a lot on the speakers of our day back then, and Zig Ziglar was the big guy for me. He passed away a few years ago, but his sons, 2 of them, I think, Tommy Ziglar, I see, I don't know if it's just Royal LePage or if it's just Realtors in general. He's one of the motivational speakers now.
Right.
But this guy, I listened to him in the car with a cassette tape and continually. And I saw him in Vegas, I saw him in Toronto, I saw him in Buffalo, and he just gets you motivated like crazy.
Nice.
So we had a lot of those. We had a lot of cassette tapes. I kept all of them, and I shipped them off to our Maywood office. I don't know what they did with them, but
right.
That was stuff that was, now it's, there's a few big ones out there now. Robbins and...
Yeah, Tony Robbins.
Tony Robbins, yeah.
Yeah. There's a couple of real estate ones too, like Tom Ferry and then the Buffini. And
Tom Ferry, that's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
I think there's a Mike Ferry too. I don't know how that all relates, but yeah.
If you ever get a chance to just Google Zig Ziglar and you'll see some videos.
I don't even know if I've heard of him, so I'm definitely...
Oh, he was big. I remember in Las Vegas when I went to buy his tapes after his performance, the guy behind the counter said, "Who the hell is this guy? Everybody's coming up here buying his tapes." And he had a southern drawl, and but he tell a joke he said, "I tell a joke every few minutes to make sure everybody's awake." Right. He was just awesome to listen to.
Is this him?
That's him.
Yeah, nice. I'll take a look. 5 free life-changing gifts from Ziglar.
He was absolutely awesome.
A strong mindset is definitely needed in this industry.
Yeah.
Right? So that helps.
And then the Sweat Hog guy, he was around more recently. Actually, that was Century 21 days too.
Yeah.
He came to Toronto. What the hell was his name? He called everybody Sweat Hogs.
Oh, yeah?
And he called all the offices, Century 21 offices, and said, "I want the owners to come. I want the salespeople to come. And I don't want you to tell them anything about what we're going to talk about." So we all went. He got up there and he said, I'm going to make or break you in this business. I'll come back here every Monday for 12 weeks, but you're going to have to pay. And not your bosses, you got to pay. I think $250 or something, $500. And I want you here every single Monday. And he formed teams. And then he went over all the stuff every Monday. And so many of them lined up after his first big talk. He had the book 2 days a week instead of 1. So really, he was such a good speaker.
Wow. And this is Ziglar.
No, this was...
the Sweat Hog one.
Floyd Wickman.
Oh, okay, Floyd Wickman. I
don't know if you've heard of him.
No.
Yeah, he came from Detroit, and he was, again... He got it more down to, okay, the people come to your office, you tell them to get in your car, and you ask them, are you going to buy a house today? And if they say no, tell them to get out. He was really, you know, I mean, none of us can do that, or not too many of us.
Yeah, aggressive.
And then after you go and you look at houses, you say, come in the office and let's talk about which one you want to buy.
Wow.
And he said, repeat after me. Tell them to, and everybody at the same time, tell them to get out of the car, go into your office and sit down. You know,
wow. That doesn't seem like that would be your approach.
No, I couldn't do that. I think most of us couldn't. But
no.
It probably saves you a hell of a lot of time.
Well, yeah. You're buying a house today. Well,
the one spiel he did was he'd take a break. He said, I quit smoking. And you just need willpower. And he'd on and on and on. We're sitting at the very back by the curtain. He sticks his head up. Psst, psst, one of you guys got a cigarette?
Seriously?
Yeah. That was so funny. But those speakers made me in the old days. And also joining organizations, president of the Kinsman Club. I sold 3/4 of those guys' houses.
What is that? I've never even
Kinsman?
heard. Yeah.
Kinsman Club in Port Colborne folded a few years ago, but the guy that started it after the last war to get guys to form a group of camaraderie, you know, like to get together, have a meal, and they had parliamentary rules. You could stand up and speak, and I was not a speaker, but that, you know, being the president of it, or being in that club. It got so easy to, you know, people would stand up and say some kind of just funny stuff or whatever.
Right.
And it got people standing up and talking, and they'd sit down, somebody else would stand up. And then,
interesting.
Yeah, and when they asked me to be president, it's like the Optimist Club or the Lions. It was a service club. We used to donate to cystic fibrosis. We'd have a big annual convention every year.
Interesting.
It was a fun thing.
Kinsman.
There's the Fun Hill Kinsmen are still active.
And you were president for a period of time?
I was the president for 1 year in Port. Then I was on the museum board, the Port Colborne Club, which is now Roselawn.
Right.
That used to be the St. Catherine's Club is still in operation. It's a businessman's club. And you go in for lunch, you go in for dinner. It was a place where you could go and get really, really well taken care of. You know, you'd book ahead, book a reservation, you'd go in, have a nice meal and a few drinks, and we'd sit by the fireplace and have a few drinks, and then if I had a good month, I wanted to spend some money.
Right.
And kind of pamper myself, so we'd call in there, and then they bring you the steak. Is this satisfactory, sir? Yeah, you know, the raw steak.
Wow. Where was this?
Yeah, that was Roselawn before it became...
At Roselawn. Oh, okay.
It was called the Port Colborne Club.
Okay.
The Niagara Falls Club, the St. Catherine's Club.
Gotcha.
I don't think Niagara Falls is in operation. And the newer generation didn't...
Take it on.
It didn't turn them on that much, you know, but we enjoyed going, and I was president of that as well. One of my old school teachers, a few lawyers, a couple of doctors were on the board of directors.
Wow.
And... yeah, you know, it was a nice thing to do.
So...
Kinsman, Big Sisters Association, I was a director on that. The local chamber, I made it up to vice president, and then I quit because I didn't have time to be president. So every one of those groups that you're involved with, you're going to sell a bunch of houses. Yeah. Because people love talking about real estate.
Yeah. Don't we know that? Yeah. See, that's interesting. I find it hard to balance all that. Like, I'm part of some stuff too.
Yeah, you can only do so many.
Yeah, there's only so much time in the day. Like, because
you got family is more important.
Yeah, you got family, friends. Yeah, but that's good. I try to do stuff like that too, but I've never even heard of the Kinsman. Yeah, that's a first.
A fun one.
Yeah, eh?
Yeah.
So, what was at the core of it? It was, you said it was business guys? Or it was any guys?
It was basically a service club. We'd have a couple of projects. In my case, I remember cystic fibrosis was our big one for the year. You know,
so was there a fee or a membership fee or something? How did you guys have money for...
How did we do that? Oh, we pay for our own meals, and I think we had a service charge,
Gotcha.
too, but nothing major.
Gotcha.
It was more or less like the Lions Club, I mean, they supported Little League hockey, and
Right.
they've got their projects. We had ours, just like some of our real estate companies have a project.
Yeah.
With Royal LePage, it's the ladies' shelter.
Right.
So, yeah, it was good to do to begin with, but that was a fun one. The first year I was a kinsman. Between Christmas and New Year's, I didn't know this. One couple will start the visitation. They'll go to one of the couple's houses, have a drink, and they wouldn't leave unless either the husband or the wife came with them to the third place. And they kept gathering people. The first year, my freaking doorbell was going nuts at 4 o'clock in the morning. And I hear yelling and screaming.
4 in the morning?
4 in the morning. Couldn't figure out what the hell was going on. I opened the door, and there's a couple of them laying on the grass, never made it to the door. The rest all come in. Yeah, we wanted to drink. And one of you guys got to come with us. Well, my mom had an apartment in my house for my mom, so she looked after the kids. So the two of us took off. We usually get home about 8 in the morning.
Wow.
But they would do the every member visitation. I remember one bank manager wouldn't answer the door. They were up on his roof, pounding on the bedroom windows.
No way. That's amazing.
I remember forever. It was good.
That's amazing.
Yeah. But yeah, I picked up a lot. And then John Irvin, you remember John?
No.
He passed away not long ago. He was in business for quite a while. I got him into Century 21 with me because he was a friend. He joined the Kinsmen, and he sold a bunch of the houses, There's always a group.
Yeah.
You get a group of people, no matter what it is, you pick something you like.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
You're going to sell a bunch of houses.
Yeah, exactly.
Besides the fact that you're out there.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I haven't been out there for quite a few years now.
So, another thing, too, we talked about the markets. What about... Do you find that the market has kind of dictated how well you've done or not? Or, because just to go over with myself, since I started, I've been growing every year, but last year I had my first down year. And reason I think that happened for myself was we self-contracted building this house. So that took up months of my time.
Distractions, yeah.
Yeah, we got married last year. So my outside of work life was eating up a lot of my time.
Yeah.
And now this year, I think I'm back on pace to back.
Super.
Yeah. But how have you seen,
I had the same thing last year.
Yeah?
And I have no distractions.
But you had a down year last year.
I had a down year, yeah.
Yeah?
Wasn't as good as, I usually get the Diamond Award, and I had dropped one category. I was down about 40, 50 grand.
Right.
So it feels good when you don't have to pay as much income tax otherwise.
So, with yourself, have you seen that over the years where with down years, are you
Sure.
Is it when the market in 80 and 90, did that really hurt you when that happened, or?
Yeah, I just worked harder, but I didn't go down too much, but we all went down.
Mm-hmm.
No question. No question. I mean, you can only grind so much.
Right.
It doesn't matter what you do.
Yeah, because if the days on market go from now 50 to 150, it's just going to take longer to do business. You're going to have that extra time. Yeah. Once maybe you get back on track, you can level it all out again. But there's going to be a period of There
is. There's not much you can do except keep working.
So
I'd get the city directory out, and one time when I was slow, I would go through all the you could see 2-3 addresses in the city directory, so if it's a multi-unit.
Mm-hmm.
So I'd call one of the tenants and say, who owns the place? If there's a star beside the owner, but a lot of them aren't owner-occupied.
Mm-hmm.
Then I'd call them and say, hey, multi-units are really they're active right now, and would you consider selling it? Whatever. I even pick them out of the newspaper. If you pay attention to what your job is,
right.
A few months ago, I saw the Crowland Hotel on Ontario Street in Welland. that the fire department had closed up their second floor because of violations from fire alarm systems and stuff, and it's been closed for a while.
Mm-hmm.
So I tracked the guy down off Geo Warehouse, and I phoned him, and I said, would you be interested in selling? Yeah. Okay, I don't need to list it. I got a couple of guys I'll bring by, and I sold it.
Nice.
Sold the City Hotel same way.
Really?
Not MLS.
Yeah.
I sell, you catch something that kind of strikes your...
Yeah, these happen over the time.
If
Yeah.
you're paying attention,
Yeah.
you can give these people a call. So they don't necessarily have to be listed. Like yesterday, I had nothing. So I went in the office. I was there all day, wading through my notes. We had a really big run the last 2.5, 3 weeks, Sherry and I.
Awesome.
But it stopped.
Right.
So Sherry said, I'm going to Toronto to see my granddaughter. I said, good, I'm going to the office to get this thing going again.
Right, let's get that run running.
Yeah, so...
Yeah.
Of course, I'm older. I got no kids to worry about. I mean, my kids are both in Port Colborne. I see them all the time.
Oh, nice. That's convenient.
So I...
Yeah. Now, I want to bring up this one. This one's going to be, I think, fun. But I find one of the biggest challenges with listings is sellers' expectation on price.
Well, that's always been there.
That's always been that way?
Yeah. And unfortunately, some agents try to buy the listing,
Oh, yeah.
Like that farm I've got there on Regional Road 24. I've dealt with them for 5 years, so I knew they weren't going anywhere, but they called 3 different agents.
Right.
All 3 of us were basically $825,000, 800 to 825.
Right.
It was 900.
Right.
Well, they right away said, well, that guy's just trying to buy the listing, and then come back in 2 months and say, caution, I'm really sorry. I think maybe we were a little too high, that stuff. And the cutting commission part, it really, really upsets me.
Same here, Bill.
It's terrible. Like they're ruining the real estate profession that's been around for 100 years. We were always 6% before MLS.
Right.
Always.
Right.
5% exclusive, which nobody does.
Right.
And now they're cutting it to 4. I mean, it's fine. Things are flying and we're making money. But what about when it gets back to a flat market or a level market? Like it's the worst thing they could do, and they just don't seem to take the time to give them a pitch about why it has to be 5%.
Right.
And they just, well, that guy probably said 5, so I'm going to say 4, and that way I'll get the listing. Like,
it's terrible.
It is. It's bad.
I don't do that. I don't subscribe. I subscribe to the 5, the 2.5.
Yeah.
I don't know. That's how I started. That's how I'm going to be.
Yeah.
It's super important. It's crazy to see that when, I don't know, I explain to people when a realtor is willing to do it for less, you know that they're not going to give you the same service. And
that's right.
And how do they negotiate for you? And that's how they negotiate for themselves. Like, you know the ones out there, you've been around. Yeah. The guys that are chopping the commissions, they're not the strongest agents out there.
No, they're not.
Right? Like,
that's why they're not strong, and I don't think they have the self-confidence to push for the 5. I don't have a lot of trouble, I guess, because they know I've been around, and I just say it's 5%. If Sherry or I sell it, we do it for 4.
Right.
But even if I list a 4%er, I still offer 2.5.
Oh, wow.
I can't.
Good, nice. Yeah.
You
got to keep the buying agents motivated to sell that property.
Yeah.
We all know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
but
it's upsetting.
See, and one of the things, just speculating at it from my perspective anyway, is we're in an industry, any other industries, but the 80-20 rule seems to apply just fine to our industry, where 20% of us are doing 80%
of the work.
And then there's 80% of those people out there getting the little bit, but throwing around discounted commissions, throwing any price at a listing, trying to buy it. But there's more of them doing that.
Yeah.
So it's confusing.
We got a lot of agents, not even close to what we had 25 years ago.
Right.
Oh, man, there's...
So when you started, was there another realtor in Port Colborne? Or?
There were 2. They were both kinsmen with me. And I was always money hungry. When I was investigating, I always had something on the side because they tried to ship me out to Atlanta, Georgia, Vancouver. I had a widowed mom. I'm an only child.
Right.
I couldn't leave. I didn't want to leave.
Mm-hmm.
So the guy in the next office to me when I was investigating, he was a wheeler dealer. We had little 2-bit offices when I was investigating. No name on the door. 2 of us with typewriters. We'd go out and snoop, put it all on paper.
Right.
This guy would sit there, and I always went over with have a coffee with him, and he'd hang the phone up and said, "Look, I just made 20 grand." I said, 20 grand? I said, that's what I make in a year. So I said, what the hell? This guy's, even if he's twice as smart as I am, and
right.
did half of that in a year, I'd be happy.
Right.
So that's what made me get...
what was it? He was a realtor?
No, he was a developer.
Oh.
He built a car wash on Niagara Street, and I think the one next to McDonald's up there, next to our office, 2 over, restaurant. And he was always, and he'd have the head mortgage guy from the CIBC waiting in the hallway for half hour because he was late.
Really?
But he was a wheeler dealer, and he, when I heard, "Hell, you made $20,000? I got to work 12 months to make that, and you just did it, like in one day."
Wow.
So I had to do something, make more money. So we did. We had a part-time racket going. I was partners in a sub shop. We'd work Friday night and Saturday night and hire out people the rest of the week. And then we had 3 delivery vans on the road selling ladies' pantyhose and peanuts and candy, and so it was all on the side.
That's amazing.
Yeah. And we made...
That's amazing.
I'd stick the cash in my top drawer in my dresser every Saturday, Sunday. We'd go out and I'd go out investigating. I'd stop. My most common informants were corner gas station, corner store.
Really?
Knew me. He said, "Hey, I'm doing a report on Joe up the street here. What can you tell me about him? Good guy. And by the way, I got pantyhose, a rack of pantyhose. We're selling that stuff now, and if I bring it in and put it here on consignment, you get like 40%. Well, bring it in."
Go ahead.
I had a whole route I do on a Saturday.
That's amazing. Yeah. That's efficiency right there. I didn't know that, Bill. That's awesome.
We did all that. And in the sub shop, one of my buddies said, "I got this gas station." It was in the corner of 140 and Highway 3, that Esso station.
Oh, yeah?
A buddy of mine owned that. "You got this big room left over. Let's do something. Let's open a sub shop." Okay. So we opened a sub shop. So when we were we had a packaging machine that we did the peanuts and candy in the back room. Had the subs in the front room. When nobody was coming for a sub, be back there cranking out.
That's amazing. No wasting time. I love it.
That's when these 2 guys, Buffa and Burkout, at Kinman meetings said, you must be working 20 hours a day, and you got like 3 different jobs, and you can't be doing a good job. If you were doing real estate and putting in those kind of hours, you'd do really well.
Right.
So they finally convinced me. So I still remember walking out on the street and said, "Holy shit, if I don't move my butt, I don't get paid this week, and I got 2 kids, a mortgage payment, 2 car payments."
Right. It's amazing what we'll do when we have the motivation to do it. You
gotta have motivation.
Yeah, exactly.
I always tell everybody I spend 20 grand a year more than I make. That's my motivation. After supper you sit there and say, "Oh, I think I'll have a nap." "Oh, geez, I can't. I better go back to the office."
That's amazing.
So yeah, it's been a great business, no question about that.
Do you have any other side businesses going on now? Real estate.
That was way back when we were younger.
Yeah.
I'm not on any committees or any of that stuff either.
Yeah. Just straight real estate now?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah. That's all.
So you said you started in Port Colborne with that independent. And have you been in the same building the whole time, or have you moved around?
No, we moved around. Burkout. When I was Century 21, we had the building where the vet is now in the corner of Elm and Cavalli, and then it was Remax.
Right.
Yeah. So we started, the Century 21 office was there. When I left, I opened at the Portal Village Mall.
Oh, yeah.
There was an agent that was going to take over the world, Bill Bruin. I don't know if you ever heard of Bill.
I've heard that name.
Bill was there at the late 70s, early 80s, and he was moving into every community, and he'd have a picture of a salesperson in front of his Cadillac, and I'm going to put all you guys out of business. He was a nice guy, but then that recession hit. He went bust. I think he had a couple of big financial investors that were backing him.
Right.
And that's where Sherry went, actually.
Oh, really?
She was with him. But then he ended up going under. I rented his office in Portal Village. And then I guess we were there until we sold out to Royal LePage and they bought the big house on King.
Yeah, that's a pretty cool spot you guys are at. I like the setup. I've been in there a couple times.
Yeah.
Do you remember, I don't know if we've ever talked about this, but when I was interviewing for brokerages, do you remember when I came to the sales meeting there?
Yeah.
I came because I was interviewing, and I don't even remember who the point person at Royal LePage was, but they said, when you come to interview, why don't you come to the meeting and see what it's like?
Yeah.
And I can't remember. We went. It's ran very similar to how it was at Century 21, where you have the meeting and then you go and look at new listings.
Yeah.
And you guys let me go and look at the listings. I don't remember who I rode with or whatever, but who I remember at the meeting was you, because you clearly lots of experience and you were saying whatever you were saying. And
Brad's been, you're awful grumpy today. And I said, well, I got these bloody pet peeves and nobody's listening to me. So, we used to, when I went on my own, 2 or 3 followed me from Century 21.
Right
off the bat. Another couple followed me after. I started with 8 women.
Oh, yeah?
And it was really good. But I said, we'd have a meeting. I had the meeting at my house. And I said, there's not much around here that's compulsory. The one thing that's compulsory is I want you at the meeting every Tuesday.
I love it.
And they came without a problem, never had a problem. So then I sell out to Royal LePage, and I said, we had a meeting every week, and then they cut it down every 2 weeks. Now they cut it down to once a month.
Right.
I said to Brad, why don't you make it compulsory? Oh, I can't do that, So 2 or 3 wouldn't come.
Yeah.
So nobody knows what's going on.
Yeah.
I've always felt that they should be told to make sure they come.
I think the weekly meetings are very valuable too.
I do too. Have you got any agents coming, or don't you know?
So what, to me? That's not my first. My first thing is just to be able to have a ship that runs. Okay. This is all new to me. Yeah. So I don't know how far away, but I'm not even thinking about that right now.
Good.
As we were talking, just as we're walking in, I don't even have processes in place. I'm busy with just normal real estate, right?
Yeah, you're gonna find it difficult.
Yeah, so I've got a lot of unknowns ongoing right now. But yeah, first thing I want to do is, because to me, I work a lot too, and I like to do everything proper. I don't like mistakes.
Yeah. Right.
So just my goal right now is to get the ship running above. Floating.
Yeah. I don't know if I can help or not, but I went through it all. So
yeah, that's amazing.
I can help anytime.
See, the Tuesday, when you say that, I find that that's the fact that you see those meetings is so important. From the 6 years I was at Century 21, I can't tell you I went to every meeting, but I feel like it's in the 90 to 95, maybe 98%. I don't remember, because I find it's very valuable when everybody comes together. That's the same thing with Caravan. I think Caravan's an amazing thing.
I think it is too.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, most of it's out of my
territory.
But if I can get there, I think it's very valuable too to mix with other agents. It's one thing about a lot of them not coming into the office these days, because they can work from home, they can work from anywhere with the cell phone.
Yeah.
But they're missing the interaction and.
We share our trials or tribulations or the successes. My time at Century 21, I spent as much time every day in the office there and talking with everyone.
Yeah.
Everybody is going through stuff.
That's
right? You know, like you can help people, they can help you.
Yeah.
Right? Like
it doesn't matter how long you're in the business, you're always learning something.
Exactly.
Always. It's always something new.
Yeah.
I always thought that was part of it. And from working at home is great, but you get lazy too. I mean, you're in your pajamas and you say, I think I'll watch this program on TV. And
right.
I don't know. To me, I don't know.
I don't know either. See, now myself, I'm going through the transition, right? I'll tell you, leading up to Friday, when I finally got the brokerage approved and everything, I had slowly already been preparing myself and working a little bit more from home. And I still, I haven't got any of the bad tendencies yet, but I can see the conveniences are there for anything. But like you, it's hard for me to sit down and take a nap or any of that stuff because there's, but still for other people or anybody working from home, but still, I don't know. Tomorrow's my first Monday being my first full day of having this go on. So,
wow, that's a good experience.
Yeah,
I found it difficult handling all the different personalities. Like right off the bat, I shouldn't say especially having all women, but two of them got in an argument. The one goes flying out, slams the door, and I hear the other one sitting back there crying.
Right.
What the hell do I do now?
Right. It's not something where exactly.
So you got each individual is a different person, different characteristics, and you got to be able to please them all. So that part was tough.
Yeah.
We'd have a $50,000 line of credit. In December, January, February, it was almost all gone, and you say, holy mackerel. But then March, April, May, all of a sudden you fill it and you got more.
Yeah.
So I never had to worry about that before.
That's interesting. I'll tell you how I've seen the annual cycle of real estate, and tell me if you feel it's accurate or not, or how you feel about it. But this is kind of how I see the year of. So let's start at January 1st. January 1st is a slow day in real estate, right? I don't think anything's open. Yeah. It's cold. It's the day after New Year's. But I find from January, I don't even know, till maybe end of January, February, pretty quiet time. And then I find February to March, you're starting to get some people that are thinking about the spring, right? And getting some activity. And then spring comes, that's when a lot of people want to start moving because the winter's been cold.
Yeah.
And then you got people wanting to buy and sell. And then the spring seems to kind of be a little bit of a flurry. And then I see this, I'm talking from my experiences. And I'll keep, and then I find that, after school's done, like June, end of June there, that you're still continuing with that kind of flurry. And then I find that there's often like a little bit of a dip when a lot of people tend to be gone on vacation.
Yeah.
Right? Like there's a week or two where, you're talking about a run, you've got these runs going, and then all of a sudden the run is a little bit quieter.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay. And like how we haven't even touched on this part. We have a deal going on right now with the city of Port Colborne, and we've been challenged with people away on vacation.
Yeah.
And then I've seen, after that little bit of a lull, I've seen rushes so that people get their transaction done so that they're in their house before school starts.
Yeah.
And then I see it kind of a little bit of a pickup there, and then it's kind of level until, I don't know, about mid-December or maybe beginning of December when everybody's Christmas for.
Yeah. Unless you go to a lot of Christmas parties, you'll pick up some clients from the middle of December to the end of December.
So is that annual cycle kind of like how you see it too, different or?
Yeah, actually, Alec Danch, who was one of my partners, he's now retired. You must have met up with him. He was doing appraisals.
Yeah, and his son does too, doesn't he?
Both his sons now. Yeah. He retired.
Right.
And him and I compared notes once over a 20-year period, and the best month I ever had was a February. The best month he ever had was a January.
Really?
People have nothing else to do. You got their attention more.
Right.
I remember promising people, there's definitely a lawn and there's definitely shingles on the roof because they're all covered with snow, right?
There's got to be grass here.
So that, and then July, August, I always thought were kind of slow because everybody was on vacation. But then couple of years, I hit big in July and August, and
Right.
May and June were slow. So I guess the average is the
Right.
summer tends to cool down a bit.
Right.
And I know, from August, middle of August on, most of them who have small kids going to school. They're probably worried more about getting school supplies and getting the kids back in school.
Yeah.
But, I guess generally.
So it's something more or less with some, because a common question I get asked by people is, when should I list my house? And what I tell people is, if I could time the market, like, I don't know if I'd be doing what I do, because I could tell you spring, but then interest rates go up in spring, right? Like, I don't know. So the way I tell people is, when you're ready, that's the time to do it, because I'm not going to be able to tell you what the market's going to be like tomorrow or 2 months from now.
Well, lately I've been telling them to get it on the market ASAP before November and December hit.
Right.
But it's just bullshit, because I know it'll sell. Quicker you get it on, the better. Right. You'll make out the best.
Well, and if you're speaking about the terms now, if the market goes down, right, it certainly could go up, but we only know what the market condition is today, or what it's been, but not what it is tomorrow.
Yeah. For years and years, I used to tell people, real estate is a great investment. It hasn't gone down in 35 years. And then all of a sudden, 1980, and I thought, oh, geez, I hope none of them call me.
That's hilarious.
The hell knows?
Yeah. Real estate's got a great track record of going up. It, like we talk about these waves, but it comes back and then surpasses wherever it was.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, they're very true. It's always been a good investment. I remember years ago trying to talk my wife into letting me buy a side-by-side duplex. I think the whole thing was ridiculous. $29,900 maybe. I mean, we were selling houses for $16,000 back then. I got a picture of Sam Burkout and John Irvin and I in the $1 Million Club. We got a plaque. We sold $1 million worth in a year.
Wow.
I look at my last two deals. Our last two deals for August, and it was just a little over $1 million.
Right. One deal.
Yeah.
Not a year.
Yeah, not a year.
Yeah.
Yeah, so, they were cheap prices back then. A new house, I'm sure they were cheaper before that, but I remember $49,900 for a brand new build.
Right.
So, thought $1 million a year was
big.
A lot of them couldn't do that.
Yeah.
So,
One question I think would be good. Any new agent that was starting or thinking of getting their license today, what are some things that you would, or do you tell them? Like,
well, I think they got to be motivated. I mean, if they, there's so many of them, like any business, they open a business and they say, okay, they sit there and wait for people to come. There was a little Mediterranean food place that opened in Portal Village, and that woman was getting meaner and meaner by the week.
Yeah.
And I remember once I pulled up there to go into Avondale, and she opened the door. She was closing up, and she grabbed the frickin' chairs and threw them back in and locked the door, walked away.
Right.
So you can't just open and sit there and wait for people to come. It doesn't work that way.
Exactly.
It did for the last couple of years maybe, but...
Yeah.
You got to have some kind of a plan.
Yeah, exactly. So, got to find business.
Yeah.
See,
cold calling used to be super, but I think it's hard for a lot of them to do.
Yeah.
I was in charge of that at Century 21. We split the city directory up into 6 or 8 sections.
Mm-hmm.
You take this section, you take this section, and make cold calls in that neighborhood.
Right.
You just call up and say, have you ever thought about, you introduce yourself, and have you ever thought about selling your house? And if they say no, do you know anybody in the neighborhood that might be interested? That's it.
Right. Easy.
Easy. Easy to say.
Yeah.
Except when one of the agents called the lady that was on the way to the funeral home because her husband had passed away.
Right.
That didn't go over well. But
right.
I think they finally explained to the lady what, that she was doing the whole neighborhood.
Yeah, it wasn't direct.
So that's always good. And this Floyd Wickman used to say, if you got nothing else, go stand out at the stoplight in front of your office, and when the car stopped, give them each one of your business cards.
Right.
You know, anything.
Yeah, do something. Yeah, I know. That's a problem. That people are just not trying to get the business one way or another.
If they're just going to sit there and do nothing, and they come in on floor duty, and that's valuable time. I'm not. I slack off too. I keep going out for a smoke and a coffee, and I play free slot machines on my phone. Have a couple of smokes, then I go back in again. But use that time to wade through articles or your list of clients or whatever. They used to tell us to get a little card index, which worked good. I can't do a lot of it on the computer. Even my daytimer, I got to have a full 2 pages in front of me.
Yeah.
And if you have a card system, you put in buyers, say, from 200 to 300, 300 to 400, slip them in there, and when you see a new listing, rifle through the little card directory or do it on your phone if you're more apt to.
Right.
Same with listings. I have a file folder full of CMAs I've done, and I find it really difficult right now because a lot of them are older people wanting to go in an apartment, and there's no freaking apartments. Nothing.
No?
The apartment situation is just horrible.
So when you say an apartment, is that like to own or rent? To rent.
Yeah, the apartment buildings all got huge waiting lists. I even offered the one guy, I said, we'll give you $500 if you sneak us in on the next apartment that comes up. Oh, shit, I've been offered $1,000. I've been offered more than that. It's just you can't find an apartment.
Right. What?
That building next to the old, where the vet is on the corner of Elm, there's 2 buildings next to it. He's got signs out there for rent. New owner. And he's remodeling 8 apartments. $1,500 a month for a 2-bedroom plus bills. Wow. And the signs are still sitting out there, but the rents have gone sky high, and there's just nothing. Schultz has got a 2-year waiting list in the 2 buildings across from the high school on steel. Right. So it's very, very difficult.
Wow, I didn't even realize that. I know that rentals for like houses is even low supply in Port, because I have a client that just bought a house over on right next to Canadian Tire over there, and had no problem filling it for a rental. It was a 2 or 3 bedroom house, just a little house anyway, and had tons of applicants, filled it.
He would,
no problem.
There's a lot of people that I got one couple. Poor guy had a heart attack even, and she's so desperate. Can't find a thing. Right. She got a $400,000 house on Sugarloaf Street, and she wants to sell it. So it's really CMHC is offering, from what I hear, 1.5% 30-year mortgages to developers to put up some
1.5%.
1.5% for 30 years to build some affordable housing, but it's just rentals. Right. I heard rumors that they might be coming up with something for building cheaper houses, but I haven't really. Yeah,
I know. I've had a couple people come on here on the podcast and talk about affordable housing, and this is on the radar, but it's a challenging thing. It is. Like it just from my perspective of all I know is to build a building or houses or anything, it's going to cost quite a bit of money. Even if you're doing it without putting in quartz and granite and whatever, because you've got building codes to adhere to, you've got the development charges, development fees, you've got land. Like to build affordable housing doesn't mean it's affordable to do it. Yeah. So and nobody wants. I shouldn't say nobody, or it's difficult. People aren't doing this to lose money, right? No. So they got to make money, and if it's really expensive to do it, affordable housing. I'm not saying it's impossible, but it's a challenging concept overall.
It is that.
Yeah, and I don't know. I don't have solutions to it by any means. I've been selling these things, not developing them. Yeah. But yeah, it's definitely on the radar how to do it, and that's interesting to hear because we definitely have an aging demographic, right? Yeah. We got the baby boomers all up there that are looking for transitions. Yeah. and it's going to be an interesting landscape.
It is. Federal government came up with that first
Right.
time home buyers plan. I don't know if you saw it, but basically they give them 5%, and they said it's about time. But they don't give them 5%. They have to have 5% themselves. They got to have their lawyers' fees, and then the government will give them another 5% to keep their payments down.
Mm-hmm.
But it doesn't help them buy a house. They still need down payment and a lawyer fee.
Exactly.
So it was. I don't think it's much help. But.
And you've seen, talking about purchasing incentives, and I've heard of these, that there was points, I don't know, points or point that you could buy a house with 0%. Like you've seen this before.
We
right?
even advertised it before because I thought Sherry put them in, and we both thought that they would give you the 5%.
Right.
And when I told her, I said, it's not the case, so you better stop advertising.
Mm-hmm. But they have had that before, where banks would let you buy a house without any money down.
Yeah.
That's, like, to me, that concept is crazy, because since I started, you've needed at least 5% in your lawyer fees and
Usually
whatever closing costs. But at one point it was 0. So that you still had to qualify.
Yeah.
Right.
You still got to qualify, and you still got to have the stress test thing. You got to qualify for 2% over. You know?
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, stress test. No, one thing that you brought up that I'm not too familiar with, but Portal Village there, like there's vacancies in there, right?
Where?
In Portal Village, is that what it's called? With that Mediterranean.
Yeah, but they're not cheap. Like they're $2,500 a month.
Right.
It includes some meals, but you basically get a square room for that.
No, but not even the actual commercial building. Like, what's that called there with the Avondale and that Mediterranean restaurant? What's that, like?
Portal Village Mall?
Yeah, the mall. There's vacancies in there.
Oh, there has been for a while since Schultz sold it.
Right.
Somebody from Pelham apparently owns it. I don't know. I got a letter from somebody a couple of years ago, are you commercial full-time? And I said, no, you can't do that in a small town. You'd starve.
Right.
So I think they were thinking of leaving, who's got it? The commercial guys in Niagara Falls.
Colliers? Yeah.
But I said, we can rent them.
Right.
But back then it was $10 a square foot and $2 or $3 a square foot for common area maintenance.
Right.
But it hasn't been the same since Schultz sold it. He always had the place full.
I was going to say, because when I'm driving through Port, anywhere, I'm not exactly paying attention to every single thing, but I've noticed at some point that there's vacancies. It almost feels like it's half or more there.
Yeah.
And like I went to Lakeshore Catholic High School 5 years. I always remember it being full. I don't know if it was or not, but I never thought of that place of having vacancies 20 years ago or whatever.
Yeah, they got I guess 3 core tenants, Smith Optical, the Avondale, and the chiropractor at the other end. But there's a dentist's office that was on that side.
Mm-hmm.
He retired, my God, 10 years ago at least. It's been sitting there empty ever since.
Wow. Do you think that they should try and just put really low rent or something to get people in there? Or like, is it better to leave it empty like that? Or I don't even know. To me, when I drive by it, I'm like, that's too bad that
it is. Yeah.
They're empty.
Yeah, it is. It's a shame. Obviously Colliers doesn't pursue it.
Right.
I've not seen them too effective down our way. I'm sure that they're a big organization, but they probably concentrate more on the Falls and St. Catharines too.
Yeah, and the bigger stuff. Yeah.
Bigger stuff maybe.
Yeah.
So it's too bad.
Yeah.
But commercial, it's gone up a bit, but it didn't take off like residential either.
Right.
So I'm hoping with this nickel plant land, if they ever get the appraisals in, I'm going to go to Sudbury and talk to the lady. It's 14 listings there.
Yeah, eh?
I'll go with my stack. Sign here, sign here, sign here.
That's going to be good. I hope that happens soon.
I'm trying. I think they wanted to see a couple of sales first. Well, I sent them 2 offers from 2 farmers, but I have no idea what price, there's
right.
a couple of developers that are talking about maybe subdivision across from the valet center there, that piece.
Right.
And I'm telling them we need something around $400,000, just 1,000 square foot vinyl sided bungalow, like something in the 4s, not the 7s, like the far end of Clarence Street where Jeff is operating. Those are selling well, but we need some average ones.
Yeah.
So
that's a lot of land that might make it possible anyway. Yeah.
But the light industrial piece they have, if you're heading up Highway 3 towards Fort Erie and you're past the 140, up there on the left-hand side, they did list 2 commercial pieces with the industrial pieces with a Toronto realtor, $40,000 an acre.
Whoa.
He said, where the hell did you come up with that? Well, our appraiser, that's what they said. Is your appraiser from Toronto?
Right.
That's an awful lot of money for Port Colborne.
Right. It's crazy.
So Rankin owns the quarry right behind, so maybe they're gearing it, figuring he's got to buy it. I don't know.
Right.
Who knows?
That brings up something I've seen and I've heard, and you can probably shed more light. I've seen these billboards of this building coming soon or whatever.
Southport.
So where is that and what's this all about?
It's on West Street.
West Street.
Do you remember where Marsh Engineering was?
No. But West Street is with all the bars along the canal.
If you go down the first block, second block has got the Miners Fisheries and the Lotus Garden.
Mm-hmm.
The next block, the block after that, so about 4 or 5 blocks towards the lake, they've torn down everything.
Mm-hmm.
They bought a 2-story Chinese restaurant in the corner, so they basically got the whole block.
Mm-hmm.
And they're putting up a 7-story condo unit.
7, okay.
And it's going to be from $500,000 to $550,000, $500 or $550 a square foot.
Right.
And as you go up, it'll be more. They're putting partly commercial on the main floor.
Interesting.
Yeah, so it'd be 500, 5.5 on the first floor where you're going to have residential.
Who's building that?
Rankin.
You think he's going to have trouble selling that?
I think he's got a long list already.
Really?
I met with them because I heard a year and a half ago, so I called Rankin.
Mm-hmm.
And he said, I'm out of the country right now, but you'll be the first one I call when I get back. Well, I never heard from him, and then I hear it was getting closer and closer. So then I hear from one of his guys, and he invites me up to meet with him, so I did, St. Catharines. He said, we're not going to deal with realtors. We don't deal with realtors. What do you mean? Well, we're not going to list them. We're going to sell them ourselves. Well, we can sell them, though, right? No. He said, we did the one in on the lake. We're just finishing up. We did one on Port Dalhousie on the lake. That's almost
That
done.
makes it tricky, eh?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I guess we're not going to be involved.
Yeah, they don't want to. They just want to sell it on their own, no cooperation.
Yeah.
And
so I said to him, well, look, how about if you get the used people with the homes that have to be sold? If you refer them to me, I'll give you a 25% referral fee. Well, that could be interesting.
Right. So at least work that angle of it.
Yeah, so I don't know. He's a really good guy from what I hear, really down to earth for the money that he's made over the years.
Yeah, I've never met. I don't know who he is or anything.
I don't either, other than his picture and talking to him on the phone, but he goes into local Avondale and somebody else has met him and said he's really down to earth. He's an engineer. When I looked up Rankin Engineering, the head office showed in Zimbabwe.
Oh, yeah?
So he's all over the world and he's big.
Wow.
So, and apparently a real gentleman, so I don't know.
That's good.
Yeah.
That's good. What else? I asked what you would recommend or suggestions for new realtors. What about myself? I've got the new brokerage opened. Any?
Yeah, you got to have money to advertise.
Yeah.
You got to start small, I guess. And
yeah.
We just got 5,000 postcards, and I got a couple of young girls putting those out.
Mm-hmm.
I guess a lot of people do that. I see my son gets ones from Michael and from Karen Newman, and we move around. I was on the menu at Little Caesars and Harvey's for a while.
Right.
Didn't get an awful lot.
Right.
The newspapers, that half page, $250 a week is heavy for what it gets you back.
Right.
I don't think a lot of, maybe the older people, but
Yeah.
where the seller says, "Oh, there's my house."
Right. Right.
But, a lot of the older people don't go on the internet, but that's where the younger people all go.
Right.
So I don't know which is best. We pulled out of there, and we just have a banner on a Saturday night now with a couple of houses. I did pick up a CMA the other day, and I said, "Where did you call me from?" They called from that little banner.
Nice.
I got nothing on Harvey's or
Right.
Little Caesars. A few years back, before everybody knew you could have a free evaluation, we put free evaluation things in everybody's mailbox, and that worked good.
Right.
They got a few, though. They get an old tattered piece of paper. Is this still good? Oh, yeah.
Right.
I think since then, most people realize that everybody gets a free evaluation.
Right. Right.
But I think the biggest thing of all is to join where there's people.
Yeah.
It's got to be the number one thing.
Yeah.
And, some of them only come in on their floor duty and you never see them again for the rest of the week. But I don't know. Maybe they're working from home, I guess.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah.
We got one guy I haven't seen him in 2 years.
Oh, yeah?
Never comes for floor duty. That was another thing I talked about it. I used to do it if they're on floor duty for the month of August and they don't list or sell anything, they're not on for September.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
Well, somebody said, "Well, you blanked last month." They say, "Yeah, I blank once in a while." I say, "Yeah, so I shouldn't be on duty."
Right.
So
Simple.
I don't really care because I usually get there early and I'm there when nobody else is there, and I get the walk-ins anyway.
Right, exactly.
we get the odd walk-in.
Right.
If Sherry and I and Penny seem to be there most of the time, the rest seem to work from home, or
Yeah.
Cindy quite often works from Florida.
Right.
But she's, she work. You can work from under a palm tree with that.
Yeah, of course. If it's listings, you can sell a listing anywhere. Yeah.
She does. They do well. George kind of retired.
Yeah. Yeah, see, that's kind of the interesting thing is with listings, you definitely could be under a palm tree in Florida.
Sure.
Yeah, but that's comes with the phone. As long as we've got our phone everywhere.
Yeah, that's true. You scooped a sale on me the other day.
Oh, no, which
I was
one?
bringing an offer on that 517 Elm.
Oh, did I? Yeah, that one wasn't interesting.
That's good.
Yeah.
Yeah, the agent said their conditions are due tomorrow, so I doubt they're going to be able to do financing and home inspection. But then she called me and says, "Just talk to Joe. He's bringing an offer from somebody else." Good, go for it. I don't.
Yeah.
If I can, I don't interfere.
Right.
Before the people have seen the house, I call them. I said, "Well, there's an offer on it, so I'll keep you posted."
Yeah. Yeah, that one was a tricky one. I know I had one offer fall apart and put another one together. Yeah.
That's good.
Yeah.
If I can avoid the auction sale, I do.
Yeah, they're tough.
We all work hard,
Yeah.
It always makes me feel bad when I get two competing offers and one has to lose.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
part of the business.
That actually bringing that up, that's I've heard a little bit of rumblings that the government has looked at our however you want to call them, competitions, bidding wars, whatever, and they've been thinking about, I've heard, having different ways to handle it. And one of the things that I heard, I don't know true or not or whatever, I haven't fact checked it all, but was that they were looking at a more transparent competition process. Because what I heard that I think the government or whatever body, who I don't even know, we've got so many bodies that, right? But was that in a competition, as you know, the other offers don't know the price of the other offers. And what they were talking about trying to eliminate was people, quote unquote, overpaying for houses, because in a competition, somebody might offer $50,000 more than the next person. Yeah. Right? So good or bad, they're looking at it like that person's overpaying by $50,000, right? So one of the things that I heard that they were looking at was making it more transparent. So if you and I are competing on 817 Elm and you register your offer, now once I register my offer, I know your offer. And then you would know mine.
So that's going to drive it up too.
Right, because now it's an auction.
Yeah.
Right? So I don't know the solution. I see the problem they're identifying, because is it the right way to handle competitions? I don't know, because I only know this system. I've seen in Australia that they do sell real estate by auction. So I don't know how they work it, because at an auction, if we were to be at a car auction, when we're bidding on it, we're bidding on it cash, right? You bid 20,000, I bid 21.
Yeah.
That's cash. In a house, I don't know if it's an auction. If you say 250,000 and I say 255, does that mean we're both bidding cash? Or do we have a finance condition? Or do we have a home inspection condition?
Yeah.
Right? In a house auction, are you allowed to do a home inspection? If you are, do you do it before the auction?
I would think.
Right? You would, and then what would they think about? Only the seller do a home inspection and then provide it for everyone, and then they're liable for that? Or do they just have the house open for a week where anybody can do a home inspection willy-nilly? I don't know. I don't know how the landscape would work, and I don't know what's better or not, because I only know what we've done.
Yeah. I don't either. In Toronto, it's a little different. Sherry spent a couple of months. She finally sold her son a house up there.
Mm-hmm.
The seller's agent, and if the seller's agent is a team, the whole team comes. They sit down at the table. The buyers come with their agent.
Mm-hmm.
They sit at the table, and they looked at Sherry and said, "Okay, what are you bidding? It's listed at $699. We'll go $730. How about you? We'll go higher." They go around the table.
At like an auction.
It's like an auction, yeah.
Wow. With the buyers there, or?
The buyers and their agents, and the sellers and their agents all sit at the table.
She went through that. That's crazy.
It took her 2 months to find them a house. So, what the hell? It's a democratic society. I mean, you open a car wash and, it's all competitive. I mean, you do it for what you think is going to make you money, and so does the next guy. And if one's higher than the other, well,
that's what it is. Yeah. See, that's why I don't know. Like we just said, in the way we have it, certainly the buyer buying a house is paying more than the next person. Well, sometimes it can be, but if you do that auction, it might go higher than what it did without that.
Yeah. True.
So by making it transparent doesn't mean that person's going to get it for the cheapest price.
No, absolutely not.
Right?
Absolutely not.
So I don't know. I don't know what that...
In an auction, people get kind of wound up,
It gets emotional.
Even for a TV or something, they'll pay more than if they would have went to the store, because they get all wound up.
Yeah, you just want to win. Yeah, so I don't know. I've just heard them talking about that, and I don't even know.
Yeah. I don't know, but it's hard for the government that's not in the business to dictate what we should do and what we shouldn't do, because they don't know our business. They don't know how it operates.
It's always interesting when there's government intervention without knowledge of the day-to-day.
Yeah, I mean, they don't know.
Yeah.
Even lawyers, they do a lot of our deals, but if you ever dealt with a lawyer, you say, no, you don't sign there, you sign here.
Right.
Right. So what else can I tell you, Joe?
Yeah, is there anything I've kind of been leading? Is there anything like I want to say something too, Bill? I've always had a great appreciation. I really appreciate that you took time, even when I was late today, and I apologize. But every time we've ever had a conversation in passing, lunch, anything, I've always appreciated it, because your wealth of knowledge is amazing.
I don't know if it's, I've never considered myself very smart. Whatever I've accomplished is from just hard work, the same as when I was in school.
Right.
I didn't really care for school, so I guess that doesn't help. But, it's not because I'm brighter than everybody else. It's just that...
you work hard.
Just work hard.
Yeah, it's
the only way I know how.
Yeah, Bill, I feel the same way about myself. I'm just out there grinding.
Yeah.
Just keep it going.
Yeah, there's no easy way.
No, I haven't met any successful person that built it on their own that didn't work. So,
when I went for that award for the listings, they flew me to Vancouver to head office, and they did a Johnny Carson. You remember Johnny Carson, right?
Yeah, late night. Yeah,
yeah. They did a Johnny Carson type interview. Not Gary Charwood, but he had a partner then, that high flying wheeler dealer guy. Can't think of his name offhand, but he was the moderator.
Right.
And he had myself and the 3 top producers in Canada there, and I was the first one up. I was nervous as hell.
Right.
And, he said, "Bill, you listed 221 homes this year, one for every working day. How did you accomplish that?" And there was a whole audience of Century 21 people.
Right.
And they got their pen out like I'm going to give them E equals MC squared or something,
Right.
I said, "How do I do it?" Just a lot of hard work.
Yeah.
I'm in my hometown. That helps. But then I had one of the brokers I had, Jane Allison, came from Toronto and was my most successful agent in the office,
Yeah.
So you don't necessarily, I didn't know everybody in Port Colborne, but I was born there, which certainly does help.
Yeah.
Good or bad, you never know.
100%. I feel the same way. I born, raised Wainfleet. Yeah. Like there's definite advantages to that.
There is.
But for sure.
Somebody might not like you.
Yeah, of course. There's
a lot of people know you a certain percentage.
Yeah.
No, not Joe.
Yeah, exactly.
So could work both ways, I guess.
Yeah.
But
that brings up something interesting. Maybe not so much now because you've been in the game a while, but if at any point, or even now, that you picked up and moved to a different real estate market, Toronto, for example, do you think that you could cut it there? Have you ever thought about that, changing markets?
Yeah, when Sam Burkhardt went out of business, he went to manage a Century 21 office in Mississauga, and he tried like hell to get me up there.
Right.
And he said, it's like Port Colborne, it's like 20,000 people, not considering the rest of the city. And I said, geez, Toronto's got 20,000 agents, more than the population of Port Colborne.
Right.
I wasn't really interested.
Yeah.
But
I think you could, but it wouldn't be the same. It's nice when you work in your community.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I really enjoy it too.
I'm sure it's a good start. You go into Tim Hortons and, I went in this morning, I had 3 people say hello to me as I'm on my way out. So that helps.
Yeah.
But a lot of them, I think, feel I'm too old to cut the mustard anymore, so I've lost a few people that I was rather disappointed. I've picked up other people I didn't expect to get, but still I was a little disappointed that I can understand why. I'm going to be 80 in 2 months.
Happy almost birthday. That's amazing. You ever plan on retiring? No.
I told Sherry to get a pickup truck and haul me out of there when I get over at my desk.
I don't see retirement in my future either. Really...
Well, hopefully, your health stays good.
Yeah, I gotta myself cut down on some hamburgers maybe, but...
Well, I had a minor heart attack about 3 years now, I guess. Woke up with a sore shoulder. Took a couple aspirins, worked for 4 days. Then I read an article on the front page of the Star, on the front page, bottom half. 39-year-old woman went to her doctor and said about a week ago she had a sore shoulder, and the doctor said, you had a heart attack. So I thought, I better go to emergency. There's a bunch of people there, the hell with it, I'm not going to sit there, but there was nobody there. They took a blood test, and I had a 90% blockage in the other shoulder.
Oh, boy.
So I had a guardian angel out there somewhere. So they put a stent in, and they said, so we're going to let you out tonight. You don't drive the car. You don't work for 6 weeks. Okay. So I go home, put my suit and tie on because it was awards night, Royal LePage awards night. So we went there, got my award and everything. I went to work at 9 o'clock the next morning. I haven't stopped since. The doctor says, you got to quit smoking. I said, not a chance. All my friends that quit are gone.
Quitting smoking kills.
Yeah. He checked my lungs, then he takes an x-ray, and he said, they look all right, they sound all right. How long have you been smoking? I said, 63 years. So he says, you're one of these guys that has a gene where the smoking doesn't affect you. So,
right.
But he said, we haven't found that gene yet, so we just tell people to quit.
That's hilarious. That's great.
So, yeah, I think it keeps you young to keep going.
Yeah.
your mind is working all the time, I don't think your chances of getting dementia are probably pretty poor if you're
you keep active,
working your brain all the time.
It's a pretty cool thing about our job that we can keep going.
That's
right.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of mental stress, but people don't realize that. They think we got it really easy.
It's the easiest job. Put up a sign and collect a check. That's all. Everybody should get into real estate.
Get 10 grand, put it all in your wallet, and go home.
Yeah, and that's it. Easy game. Come back a couple months later and do it again.
Brad questioned me too. He says, we were talking about the 5% commission. And I said, yeah, I tell him. I said, first of all, the selling agent gets half of it. Royal LePage takes 30% off my half. What do you want? Wait. What do you mean 30%? You're on a 90-10 split. Yeah, I know. I got to exaggerate a little bit. Besides that, it's not a pure 90 because they charge us.
There's fees.
Fees, and when they give us the roses and the award at the end of the year, I paid for those.
Yeah, of course. Of course. Nothing's free. Nothing's free.
So I was complaining the last time about, I tried this one for years and nobody listens. Multi-unit residential property should not be allowed on the MLS system without the income and expenses.
Right.
What good is it,
Right.
So I think the one time I pulled about 12 and I had to email each agent.
Yeah.
2 of them got back to me.
Yeah.
And the one didn't have the expenses yet. So how did you set the price?
Yeah.
And what am I going to do with these? I send them on to somebody. If they're interested at all, they're going to say, well, what's the income and expenses?
Yeah, exactly.
So I've tried everything.
No luck.
Twice now, the board of directors in Deanna from our office is the president this year. I thought she would help me. And they basically said, that's personal information. Well, no kidding. So is everything else on the list. Take a picture of my triplex. That's personal too.
Right.
Everything is.
Yeah.
So what's that? Why is that any more personal than?
I've always found it interesting too. How do you come to a price if you don't know the income expenses?
Yeah. I know how. I did a 6plex on Helms Avenue, and I sat down at the kitchen table, and the guy sits down and he said, "Okay, so what's it worth?" I go, "What's your income and expenses?" Well, my income is $50,000 a year, so it's worth $500,000, right? And they said, "No, who told you that?" The last agent that was here. They said, you got to take expenses off that.
Right.
So it's actually worth $350,000. Oh, get out of here. Get out of here.
Yeah, exactly.
So that's one thing that's always bugged me, that we don't have income and expenses.
Yeah, on the multi, yeah.
Yeah.
I know. I've been through the same thing, having clients inquiring and then coming up empty-handed. It makes us look bad too, right? When we can't get...
Sure.
Yeah.
And half of them don't reply when you email them.
Yeah.
So, if it's personal information, maybe they should put it on a schedule for the listing agent. They can pull that off separately or something.
Right.
Because it's not much good.
Yeah.
So, other than that, I've never had any beefs with them. I was on a couple of committees. I was on the committee for when they were charging somebody with doing something wrong.
The ethics or whatever?
Yeah. So
over at the board. Yeah.
Good to take, track of something like that, and who the agents are you can trust and can't.
Right.
Most of us work hard.
Yeah.
There's the odd agent out there that.
Yeah, for sure there is. Every agent's a different personality. Yeah.
The greedy ones that worry about their pocketbook more than their client.
Yeah, those are no good.
Yeah. Make the rest of us look bad.
Yeah. Wow. This was good. This was a good one. Bill, I really, 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 really appreciate you coming out here.
Oh, no problem. I enjoyed it.
Yeah.
I still remember my first encounter when Sam Burkout listed a property and sold it, and a farmer came in and didn't have any money and tried to give him a horse.
Come on.
For commission.
Come on. That's hilarious.
When we were up there doing that, we did a training film when we went up for the awards that time that I had the top lister. And what was I going to say? What were we talking about?
The horse. No commission there.
Oh, shoot. I've lost it.
It's all good.
Can't remember it.
It's all good. This was good. If you ever want to come back, or I'd love to have you back again, I'm sure. Bill, I've always enjoyed every conversation we've ever had. Like I said,
if you can think of anything to talk about, I'd be glad to come back.
I'm sure. Like, it's, the industry, there's always things going on, things changing, different challenges. Like, we'll see that new program you're talking about, that first-time buyer, that just came out like last week. Yeah. Who knows if that's going to work or not work. Yeah. It's just nice. It's always nice talking to somebody that's been around to see how things have worked and not worked. Because I'm still new, 6 years in, right? Yeah. Like, I've been through quite a bit in that period of time, but it's still only 6 years.
Yeah, I suppose. But get yourself an easy email and an easy phone number.
Right.
Somebody, who are you with out here?
My phone, I have Rogers is my cell provider.
And they can't give you a decent number?
I'll have to look into.
They keep those easy ones for businesses.
Yeah.
Well, Bell did anyway. I'm with Rogers for years too.
Yeah.
Tell them we'll both cancel if they don't give you a good number.
I love it. That sounds good. It sounds good. Wow.